Greetings. Was a little bit of a bushwhack off trail, but I found it. This is, as far as I can tell, the very first bit of water of the Pistol River, making this the headwaters. But this is not the top of the stream flow or watershed. Maybe a quarter mile up this drainage is where it officially starts, and so anything upstream of here is going to end up into this water. And there may be a few feet of dirt as a filter, but if that dirt is contaminated, it's just going to pass that contamination right on into the stream here. The Pistol River is one of Oregon's coastal rivers. It starts out here in the coastal mountains and proceeds on downstream all the way down to the beach. 101 crosses it, and a lot of other development upstream from the mouth, homes and such, with all of their, as usual, home effluent sewage and who knows what other various things in the soil or toxic legacies are leaching into the soil from decades or even, more than 100 years ago. And if you are aware of these really dense and steep and rugged coastal mountains of Oregon, especially in the south where we are here, it's a really tight little gully in here. You kind of realize that all of these rivers have development and toxic legacies going back well into the 1800s, mainly because of the mining history. Ooh, getting stabbed by vines. The salal and everything. It's pretty up in here with these ferns. Seems so fresh and verdant, but bear grass, sedges. But we don't know what happened, for example, on the bank right here 100 years ago. Was this where a mining camp was, and they decided they were going to dump their mercury from amalgamating gold right here when they were done with it? And it's slowly leaching into this water, and it's in these ferns, and it's in what all the bugs are eating. But kind of interesting that there's this one big tree you can see right there that's basically on top of that little alcove or sort of cave we were in just then. And that tree marks the official headwaters, and there's an old snag there too. So it's almost like there were these two sentinels guarding it. And that one's now gone. And this big fellow here remains. But I'm going to try to get out of here and back upstream to as far up as we can go, which is really not that far. It's about a quarter mile up the hill. And we can see what's upstream. But if you've joined me with some of my past adventures, for example, I took you up near the PV Trail, above one of the forks of the John Day River. And if you remember some of my videos about my adventures on the lower John Day River, I wanted to know what was upstream of me. I was using that water a lot, drinking it, filtered of course. But that only removes pathogens. It doesn't remove chemicals or anything of that nature. This is going to get kind of fun to get over. About waist high. Should I go that way or should I go under? Ew, I don't like this at all. I'm going to get stabbed on some of this stuff. Oh man, I'm going to have to go around. Anyway. Oh, this is lame. Arg, right through the face. I like to go upstream because we all live downstream. I want to know what the water quality is. I want to know what the conditions are all the way upstream. Spider web to the face. And so I like to go all the way upstream, if possible, on every fork of the river or waterway. A good example of why that's important would be the Columbia River, one of Oregon's beloved rivers. Whew, I'm not in hiking health or condition anymore. Whew, so the Columbia River is unfortunately one of the more polluted rivers in the entire country after the Mississippi. Oh, it's so pretty. One of the reasons being, not just because there's so much development up and down its length, but not too far upstream from the Columbia Gorge is the Hanford Nuclear Reservation, where they made plutonium for our nuclear weapons project, specifically the bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki. Its plutonium was made there, along the banks of the Columbia River. And the soil is so contaminated, apparently even the rabbit droppings they test come up positive for radioactive decay, essentially. And they don't like to say it, but there really are radioactive materials leaking into the Columbia River. And the only thing they really test for on the Columbia is fecal bacteria. Riverkeeper tends to test for that, but they don't test for much else, really. Or at least if they do, they don't tell us. But, well, I guess they do, actually. Now that I think of it, I remember reading an annual report, and they found horrifying things in the river. And therefore in the salmon and anything that eats the salmon, including the bald eagles that nest all along the Columbia River every winter. And so, you know, this is America's bird being poisoned. Is that okay? It's a protected bird, national symbol. Kind of don't think it's okay to be letting it feast on salmon that have, you know, firefighting foam chemicals in it, and psychiatric drugs, and, you know, birth control drugs, and heavy metals, and who knows what else. Bioaccumulation is a thing. Whew. So, you know, it's very, very important that we look after our watersheds from top to bottom, including the little tiny ones. It all adds up. This drains into the ocean. And of course, without a healthy ocean, we're all doomed. Down there is the watershed still, and there's no water yet. That's why I went down to where I was. I was trying to find where the first water was, and it's very dry right here because it's July. But this is absolutely a drainage in a watershed. There's water-loving plants down there for sure, and you can see where water would channel through during runoff. But looking down there, I see blue plastic. There's like a barrel or a metal bucket of some kind. I wonder what was in that. There's some beer cans. All the stuff from up here on the road is down in there. And I'm tempted to go down in there and take a closer look at what's there. But that's not fully downstream. Here's the road. So everything from this road is washing into the Pistol River. And everything from that road above here that takes you over to the Wild Horse Lookout. 3318 or 3316, I can't quite make out what the sign says over there. Everything from that road is draining down into here. So you see, yeah, this is what's upstream. Plastic, a metal culvert, you know, and another drainage culvert. So this is what's upstream. This is technically the headwaters. Everything from here flows downhill. So from the edge of the road right here, it all flows down through here, and then into another ditch, and then down on. So does this water have a chance to not be contaminated or polluted? No. So it is not hyperbole to say this river doesn't stand a chance. It really does not, quite factually, does not stand a chance. But this little bit right up here, to have any chance of not being polluted. But again, we don't know what went on up here. We really don't. And yet here's pollution here, garbage. Any of the runoff from the road is going to come right down this ditch and flow right into the river. Well, the worst part actually would be that because of the conditions here, this stuff might just sort of get left in the soil because there's not very much water coming through here during the dry season. But there's a little game trail right here. Let's see what's up here. I'm hoping it's just forest, and it kind of looks like it's just forest. But again, the toxic mining legacy, the toxic industry legacy, we don't know, you know, when this was logged or if it was logged, what went on during that time. Did they dump waste oil directly into the ground? Maybe that was a common practice. If you had garbage back then, you just threw it on the ground or dug a hole. If it was something kind of icky or sticky or gross. This almost looks moist. This looks, oh, pardon me, out of breath. I'm telling you people, I can't do this stuff much anymore. The soil is moist here, which means there's water, which means that anything that's happening up here is going to end up downstream. So that includes, again, toxic legacies from who knows what. They, you know, when they needed to dispose of their trash, they would simply dig a hole and put it in there and then cover it up. So You tell me where the hole is out here. It looks like there might actually be a little bit of flow still right through here. See the sort of little sort of ditch thing. How far upstream are we? All this lovely bear grass. Ooh. And that's pretty much it. It's just now a hillside, I think. No, there's a little bit right here. You can sort of see this little ditch. But when you come through and you see, that is a cut off stump right there. Someone came through here with a chainsaw. When they needed to do something with the oil from the chainsaw, did they accidentally spill it out here? Now there's a puddle of it slowly leaching into the soil. We don't know. So the sad part though is even though we're still following this little swale, this little ditch, look what's just upstream of this little ditch that I just realized. Here's the road again. This is just so heartbreaking. The reason that I wanted to stop and take a look at this is because while everybody's freaking out about carbon emissions, our water that we need to live is being hopelessly polluted. Hopelessly polluted. From the very start, with these roads and who knows what diesel pickup leaked what, or who knows, maybe they sprayed it with oil back up until 1960 or something. And when that practice was, you know, maybe or 70, whenever that practice was then outlawed. We simply don't know. And how can we find out? Well, perhaps we could devote developing technologies to detecting those sorts of things in the soil. You know, it doesn't really matter how hot or cold the climate is, people. If there's no water that we can drink, we will die. So, and again, you know, we'll live underground. Well, that's where do you think all the aquifers are recharged from? The surface water. If the surface water is contaminated, then the aquifers become contaminated. How do you clean an aquifer? You kind of can't. Once it's polluted, that's it. You know? So that's why I urge everybody, be deeply, deeply concerned. Because some of our rivers, like the Pistol River here, literally, factually, do not stand a chance to be clean or fresh or pure or healthy. It looks healthy, it looks like there's healthy greenery, but we don't know what sort of invisible contamination is there. But the fact is, we know it's there. We just don't know how much and where. And we just need to stay on top of this kind of stuff. We need water. We need water, and we need to protect our water. And it was said by many people in the past, I can't remember who said it originally, but future wars will be fought over water. I don't know if all future wars will be fought over water, but you look at what's happening with the Klamath River right now. Yeah, there literally could be actual wars. I hope we don't come to blows over drinking water, but as long as we're mistreating our rivers from the very headwaters all the way on downstream, well, that's the future we're all facing, folks. I hate to be doom and gloom, but I'm begging you, every time I come up to these headwaters, it's always trashed. None of our rivers do stand a chance. And you can do your part by perhaps making sure your vehicle doesn't leak oil. You know, if you do some sort of an industrial practice out here, please don't leave a trace of it behind. Yes, we need toilet paper, you know. I like being able to use toilet paper, so we're going to need something for that. Trees are that thing right now until we get hemp paper farms, you know. So there's sorts of things we can do. It's not the end of the world, but as long as we're mistreating our rivers this badly, we may be facing that very thing. So sorry to get all doom and gloom on everybody, but I do appreciate you joining me for this long video and my huffing and puffing up and down this hill here. But it's very important that we take a look at these things, and I thank you for taking the time to consider what I have to say, and hopefully doing your part to make sure that these watersheds stay clean and fresh for everybody, not just you and me and all of our future 7 generations. But as always, the ants, who are, as always, hanging around.